What's up, guys? Welcome to Connected by Creatures. We've got a special Monday night edition, and it's worth tuning in on a Monday night because we have an amazing guest. Zach, let them know, who's this guy down below?
We have the one and only Bruce Saunders from Triple B TV. Kidding. The other B. BHB. I know. I had to because I had the shirt on. Just fuck with you guys. No. It is one of the Bs from the Triple B, though, I believe. So that guy that works for Brian Barczyk, I don't know, some guy. Who is he?
Yep.
Remind me again. What's his name?
I am the unknown. I am the night.
But in all seriousness, guys, I'm really excited. We've got Bruce from the Reptarium as well as BHB Reptiles, and I've been looking forward to this all week. So without further ado.
What's up? So, nice to hear that you guys actually wanted to talk to me above all people. And even better, I got to beat a bunch of people out that I know personally. I'm not going to throw them out there right now because I know you guys got some heaters later on. But I'm glad I got to beat some people out on this one.
Yeah, man, me too. I appreciate you being here, seriously, and making the time with your injuries and everything else you got going on, which we'll touch on later. I know there's been some questions about that.
Oh yeah, special appearance with my crutches. Wait. Yeah, check them out. I got some stickers on them and shit. Yeah, that's right.
Fancy.
So, first off, Bruce, man, before we do anything else, now that we are live in public, you and I have been talking for like an hour or so. Publicly, man, I want to thank you for your service to the country through the military. Like that's always a big thing to me, man. And, I appreciate you doing all that. And
dude, I appreciate it, man, nonetheless.
Yeah, for most definitely. And secondly, I know that we're going to have a lot of comments and questions about, what you do as far as BHB and the Reptarium and working with Brian, because he's such a huge figure in this community. But I want to go directly into your keeping and what you're doing at your house, man, like your collection.
Okay, that makes sense. So I mean, honestly, that like it's better that we go that direction anyways, just because, like, to be honest with you, like I am such a small cog in the large like machine that is the Reptarium and BHB and everything like that. We have so many employees that although I'm on the vlog fairly often, it's not really like it's not just me and Brian doing things. Like there's so many other we've got a lot of awesome helpers at the Reptarium. We've got a lot of people that work on the weekends that come in on they're literally coming on their own time. Some of them people volunteering just to come in and like be able to actually get the experience in its own right. It's awesome to be able to talk about and be a part of this. But to be entirely honest with you, like having a conversation with Brian about the Reptarium is going to be largely different because he knows exactly what he wants and exactly what's going and what and that stuff. I just pick up a lot of poop, like I change some waters, and then every now and then I try not to get bit by some of our monitors. That's pretty much it. You know what I mean? Like that's the extent of everything. I love everything I do. And I really appreciate the love Brian gives me all the time. He's always he's always throwing me up real hardcore, and I'm just like, dude, seriously, like honestly, like I get really, really lucky with what I do with the animals. You know what I mean? Like sometimes like things just sort of like click quick, and then other times it takes a little bit of time. I gotta work it. But you know what? As long as I figure it out, like. I mean, at the end of the day, I'm always super happy with the results and everything.
Yeah, but I mean, you put in a lot of work. Like I totally understand where you're coming from, but I do think that obviously, like you put in a lot of work with the behavior side of things and just those reps. You know what I mean? Like it's literally just constant repetition, and it takes a certain kind of mindset, right? Like a certain thought process going into it. When you decide, like, hey, I want to teach this animal X. Like, I think that's my favorite thing is listening to you when those moments do happen where, you know, Brian's kind of hyping you up. But I love that you always take it and really break it down to, like, you make it simple. Like, well, yeah, but this is what I'm doing, and this is why I'm doing it, and this is why I think it's going to work. You know, and you never speak definitively. You never say, like, oh, yeah, this is what you do. You know, and I love that. Like, you really put on the animals, and you're like, this is what we're going to try. This is why I think it's going to work. And I love that you really break it down and kind of get into the, you know, the thought process behind kind of like where you're going with things. And correct me if I'm wrong, you worked with like dog training and stuff prior to any kind of training you tried to do with the reptiles, right?
Right. So like more or less that like I've been around so many talented people in like trainings and like in fields, especially with dogs. And this kid that's sitting behind me over here, always ever watchful. But this is kind of what sort of led me to show a lot of people what I can do with the dog and specifically her, just because like I have her do a lot. She goes with me everywhere I go. People honestly think she's a service dog, even though she's not. Hey, come here. But it started kind of with that. Like I when I was in the military, I knew a lot of people that did the bomb dogs, and like I've literally seen like the Belgian Malinois do the 7-8 foot hops over the walls and stuff for attack. And it's the coolest shit in the world to see. And like, and honestly, that's actually my next breed I want to get. But German Shepherds is what I grew up always having. So it was really easy to train this one. She was a good one. But that's just kind of what it started. And then like I've always had like lizards. So I started out with bearded dragons, just like anybody else, chameleons, everything. Just trying to like I just got so passionate about holding him and messing with him, you know, I wanted to know like what was the key to getting this one to not get upset and stressed when I touch, hold, feel, and interact. You know, that was always kind of like, it was like this really cool puzzle. I don't know, like that was kind of what was always sort of what made me fascinated about it. Was just like, not every animal was going to right off the rip be like, I like you, you know what I mean? Like I've even seen bearded dragons that were like monsters. They would try to bite you every time they'd mess with you. And then like over time, people with a super amount of patience, even more than I have, would sit there and just be like, all right, well, it's a sweetheart now. Like it tells, whenever I tell him to come up to me, it comes up to me. And it's just like, how the fuck did you do that? Like, holy shit.
Because I've struggled to draw that line in my brain, because I can understand a dog to an extent, right? You know what I mean? But to make
simple,
that connection from
very simple.
They're very simple, which is great. Like they're very simple to an extent, obviously, but just to draw that line from dogs to the reptiles, like it's just like I don't know why I never thought to even think about them kind of the same way, but it does make sense.
The larger piece being patience, though, you know, like with a dog, even with everybody's done it with a puppy at least once or twice, you know, right? Like we all. The crazy thing is like, this is why I can't. This is why it always cracks me up, where everybody was just like, "Wow, Bruce, you do such a great job," and I'm just like, man, you know what? I got like 8 hours, 12 hours a day with these animals, working with them regularly and stuff like that. So like if you put that same amount of time in, just like I did, like it would be no different. You know what I mean? I'm not special in that realm. Like I've just put the time in. I have the patience for it. You know, and that's really where it really comes down to it. Like it's not. I'm not sitting here. I don't have a key that no one can do. I am not so like, you know what I mean? Like, I mean, I'm not trying to be overly humble here, but you know what I mean? But like this, it's not a super difficult thing. It's just like, it's just a matter of patience. Are you going to wait for it? Are you going to work with it? And everybody's done it with a dog. Everybody's done it with a puppy. If you've potty trained a dog, I swear to God, you can totally train a lizard. Like 100% every time. Yeah. Like maybe not a Nile, maybe not a freaking Parenti or anything like that, but like, but you know, like but obviously like you'll probably do great with a rhino iguana or whatever. Like I personally recommend rhino iguanas to anybody. They're the best freaking lizards, man. Like, they're the coolest lizards to have. I love them. Love them, love them, love them.
Yeah, but I do. I think you hit it on the head, man. I think that the patience thing is definitely a key. And then, like, because, like, to me, the reason why dogs, like, it's always come natural to me is, first of all, because I've grown up around dogs, right? So, like, that interaction and kind of that observation of their behavior is just kind of natural. Like, I've always been around them. My first word was dog. And so, you know, dogs are easy
Puppy.
for me. Yeah.
For me, it was
okay,
puppy.
so yeah.
Awesome.
That's awesome, man. Hell yeah. Hell yeah. And so it's like that just comes super easy to me. And the thing about, again, for me, dogs, I'm like, they're very logical. Like, if you're a logical brained person, like, if you understand just like a simple thought process, like, that's a dog. And like I said, I never really thought about the idea that lizards are the same way. And I think it's the other side of that is that the consistency, right? Like, the consistency with which in the way with which you approach an animal. Because I've seen the way that you work with the lizards there, and it seems like I've heard you talk about it a lot. Even just the way that you can approach them, you're consistent. You have steps that you go through, and so it's just really just thinking through it and then just acting on it afterwards. In other words, not just like every day you open up the cage and you're not really paying attention to what you're doing. You're just like, oh yeah, I'm opening the cage and like, all right, learn some shit. You're like, okay, so every day, this is the way that I approach the cage. Like, you know what I mean? Like, in this way, and then this is what I do next, and this is what I do next.
Honestly,
to get the animal used to that process, right? Or no?
It is, yeah, it's 100% that, but to such a point, I am irritating to everyone. Even to Brian.
Me too.
I irritate everybody about it. I tell them, like, almost to a point where, like, Brian doesn't have to ask me permission or anything like that.
Yeah.
But Brian's got to a point now where he walks up and goes, like, how are you doing things right now? So, like, yeah. I know what to do. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
but that makes sense.
Yeah, and it honestly, it's exclusively with the monitors. I mean, Brian's such a, like I said, Brian's such a huge part. He does everything. So, sure. like my exclusive concentration is our larger animals, especially the alligators and stuff like that. Pepper's been my project right now, and I've been having a lot of fun with her, doing a lot of cool stuff. But I mean, that's really what it all comes down to. It's just like, you know, for instance, like with the croc monitor and everything like that. At first, I was super nervous. Like when honestly, I wasn't even thinking in my head if I was going to get bit. I was always just thinking when am I going to get bit?
It's going to happen. How's it going to happen, and how bad's it going to be?
And then it finally happened, and I honestly think that's what actually screwed me there. That was a mistake. I was ultimately a mistake I made. Was just sitting there going I'm going to get bit. I'm going to get bit. I'm going to get bit. Sure. And eventually I got bit. I had to have a little ugly bite right here on the side of my arm here. But it was actually a fairly tame bite, considering what could potentially have happened.
Yeah, and, that's those things scare the hell out of me. Just for that reason, just because I'm aware. Yeah, because I'm aware that of the damage that they are capable of.
Oh yeah, I had my arm wrapped up for a few weeks for that one. Mm-hmm. But ultimately though, the one thing I really learned about that whole experience was just you know what, I'm not going to always make the right decisions when it comes to these animals, but now I've experienced this fight. I know exactly what's going to essentially happen when it really comes down to it. I've even learned what the initial signs were before getting bit, and that was the very next question. That was ultimately the hugest lesson learned there. Yeah. It's just you know what, I learned so much just being bit and making that mistake on my own side, that it actually this is for instance recently he's gone up to my he's walked up my leg. I've had him up on my arm recently. I've been able to actually rub him under his chin and stuff like that. So going from last year around maybe springtime, the end of springtime, he bit me, and then now I'm able to rub him under his chin and everything like that. It's actually it's even blown me away. And honestly, and I just think to myself, you know what? If I get bit, I get bit. Let's do it. You know what I mean? It's kind of where it comes down to. It's just it's a little bit of just like, all right, you know what? This is an animal I really, really want to make that. I want to break the threshold. I really want to get in there and make it with this animal. And he's had such a long part of his life where he's been untouched, unmessed with, and it's all been just sitting in a cage. You know what I mean? Like even before rest in peace, but like even before Forrest passed away, he was even telling me like this was initially supposed to be like Steven's project, but that like things with like Cold-Blooded Cafe got super busy, so everybody got super concentrated on that, so they didn't really have a lot of time to work with him, right? And that was the whole thing of why he ended up coming in basically to me. And basically like my work with the Nile monitor, it impressed Forrest enough to be like, hey dude, like you need to screw with this dude, like let's see what we can do. And like I'm really proud to say that I'm able to actually get as far as I have with him. I'm gonna continue trucking on, and hopefully he's gonna be another one of those animals that we can just pull out and just be an awesome animal.
Yeah, and he's about a year old, maybe a little bit more.
Man, I thought I'm not really 100% sure. I'm pretty sure he was almost a year old when we first got him. Yeah. He was already solid at least 7 feet long at the time.
Yeah, because he has some good size, but he's not full grown. He's nowhere near. Like that, like he would honestly he would be longer than me, but like that's just all tail. Yeah. His whole body, if you're talking about just from his vent to the nose, like I'd probably say he's about the length of my leg. You know, so I'm about 5'11". So so he's bigger than even I think I realized, and I think that's mostly just because I remember when you guys got him, and then I don't think that, like, at least in my own head, I don't think I've seen like a scale, shot of him where I like understand like, oh wow, he's gotten way bigger, because I just remember when you guys got him.
I do want to I want at some point in time do a actual weigh-in of him just to see how much he's grown in the past year. But obviously that's going to be a little difficult. It's
a whole process.
To try not to stress him out at the same time.
And that's what I was going to say. Yeah.
That way.
Yeah, you don't want to have those steps back of being like, oh yeah, we've been doing all this training, and then by the way, we're going to seclude you in this tiny little box so that we can weigh you. And you can't.
Oh my God, that's literally my constant nightmare. It's just like, all right, I've worked really hard with this animal. All right, somebody else just freaked it out. Crap.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
No, I totally get it, man. I mean, I remember even, again, just, like having a dog, and then like when I got into a relationship with my ex-girlfriend, it was like trying to explain to her the way that I did things with my dog to get her to behave, and then like seeing her not do those things consistently, and then watching your dog's behavior get worse because their consistent routine is completely shot, and you're just like, this is just, it's maddening. But
I've recently been having to deal with that one with her, just because like obviously I bring her everywhere with me, so she comes with me to the Reptarium, BHB, so everyone that we work with knows her very, very well. They know all her habits, so like she's been trained to actually, if you ask her a question, she'll answer you. So the questions generally is like, what do you want? So when she asks her what do you want, she'll tilt her head left or right. If it's left, I'm hungry. If it's right, I want to go outside.
Go outside.
So everybody's figured that out. So they think that's the most adorable thing ever. So they constantly ask her that all the time.
Stop. Yeah.
So now when I go home, I'm sitting here constantly being bugged by this dog, going like she's doing this, like hey, I'm doing that thing.
Right.
Do the thing. You know what I mean? Like, and it's just like,
and
dude,
so it goes
you really. Right, yeah. It's just like, man, like I feed her your appropriate amount of food 3 times a day.
Yeah.
Come on, leave me alone. I'm not going to feed you more right now.
Yeah. But see, and that I'm the same way. Again, like I'm very logical with my animals, like especially my dogs. Like, not in the sense that I don't love my dogs. Like I will sit and just shower my dogs with love and hug on them and love on them and everything else. But at the same time, I'm the person, like, I want my dogs to understand, like, I am the pack leader, you are beneath me in the pecking order, like I say, you do, you know what I mean, and have that understanding. And it is difficult when you start adding more and more people into the mix. starts to muddy the waters of their kind of, behavior and their understanding, and they start acting out and acting different. So yeah, it's an interesting thing.
The one thing that always works though is that sharp little tone, like hey, you know what I mean? Like you get that hey.
Yeah.
Watch it now.
Yeah, I mean, as undisciplined as my dog is now, living at the house with my parents, like there's still a tone that if I come at her with, like she all of a sudden like completely ignores everyone in the house, and all of a sudden she's like, oh shit, Dad's talking, like I got to do what Dad's saying now, even though I never do any other time. There's this inkling of a memory of when I trained her originally.
I so rarely like lose my temper to where I raise my voice with her, but oh my gosh, when it does, man, it don't matter who's talking to her. You could be a mile away, it don't matter. She's gonna come running. She's always just like, no, I'm sorry, Dad. I'm sorry.
I'm like, on it. I got this.
It's not your fault. It's the person who just distracted you five miles away.
She's back to Directive 0. Wait. No, that's cool, man. But no, it's interesting, and that's why I say I loved your approach from the get-go, because like I said, I don't remember how long it's been, but I just remember it very early on being introduced that like you were going to be the reptile trainer, and like it was because you kind of had a background in training dogs, and just sort of again just seeing your success from there it's just been really freaking cool, man. I've got friends now that are training snakes. Have you had any part in that stuff that's going on with the training of the retics at all?
Only not necessarily in the retics. That's all Brian.
Okay.
100% Brian, because Brian
I knew you
does
said lizards.
Yeah, Brian. So like we've on a regular point discussed that like we do not want to lead any potential handleable animals up to fatty liver disease.
Sure.
So we do feed on a regular schedule to a point where Brian controls it only.
Okay.
So like so whenever it comes to that sort of target training and stuff like that, that's 100% him. I will be saying I will say that I do have a couple cobras here that we do target training at home. So I have that Lucy cobra I have is trained to a blue ball, and I have a spitter cobra that's trained to a blue ball as well.
Yeah, man. Let's get into that.
Yes.
That's been fun. It's been fun.
Home collection, because I know you've got some stuff that we don't really get to see on like Brian's channel, the stuff that you work with. I mean, occasionally you guys will have a video where you bring some of your animals, but like I'm really interested to know with everything you're working with at home.
So like I do have kind of an eclectic sort of like hodgepodge of like different stuff, but I've largely tried to concentrate collecting elapids. So anything in my collection that's essentially a Viperiid, I just kind of fell into. I didn't really want it initially, but I got it. You know what I mean? That kind of thing. Like so I have a really beautiful. It's one of my. It's kind of weirdly enough, even though I just said that, it is kind of one of my more talked about animals is my really dark Crotos horridus, the timber rattlesnake, Burt Reynolds. He's a super black. Yeah. Oh yeah. Naturally. So Burt's that really dark black that like initially I had sort of gotten him and knew nothing about it. I was just like, this isn't a timber rattle. I was like, this is gonna be something else. This is gonna be a Western that's like super black, a hypermel or something like that. And then like I looking more into it, I was just like, holy shit, this is a for sure timber. These are usually from mountainous areas. This is why, and stuff like that. So like it was really cool to like just kind of like dive into why this animal is why it was the way it is, and honestly, I don't want to muddy up those genes. So I'm not going to breed them until I can find an actual female that's in the same area at least.
Yeah. So is that the one that you guys had on an episode, right?
Yeah.
Because I was just saying, like I remember seeing it. Yeah, I remember seeing the episode, and I was trying to use him for the thumbnail, and he was so dark that literally when I was trying to do like a capture of his outline, I was literally struggling to grab it because a lot of times he was on a black background or like sitting in a cart while you guys were working with him, and so it was literally like I couldn't get Photoshop to differentiate between his body and the surface that he was sitting on because it was that dark. It was just
really
going from
enough.
one
If
thing
you
to
look,
the next.
if you get a good enough shot on him, right on his pupils, he is just the outline of his pupils is yellow. Everything else
That's
is black.
crazy.
And it's haunting almost to look at him if you really look at him in his eyes.
And if if it's the right animal, if I remember correctly, like, because when he's like puffing up at you guys, you know, they get that scale separation where you can literally see skin between the scales.
It's almost
and
white.
It's
yeah,
white.
it's
Yeah.
white. Yeah.
Yeah, he's beautiful, man. I mean,
He's a
and
gorgeous
again,
animal.
I can
You
attest
guys
to
had
that
Will
for sure
Mace
because
handle.
was I
when
looked
Will
super
came up,
close
didn't
at
Will
him.
handle that snake?
Forgot about
Yeah,
that.
actually, that was a rattlesnake that Will actually free handled. Yeah.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
So I have so I've talked to Will about this before, and I think I even said this to you, Brad, but like on a regular basis, I have no issue with like free handling. I even do it myself on a regular basis, but I just don't take pictures or videotape it just because I don't feel like I can stand at a point where I can teach people that.
Right.
You know, so I just don't videotape it. I do it.
Right.
I like it. So I told Will, I was like, this is if there was a rattlesnake I would ever free handle, it is this one. And I handed him that one. I was like, this is definitely one I would do for sure. And so he just kind of took my word for it, and like as you guys saw, he was a baby. I mean, Will does things I still don't do, like, period. I mean, like I said, like I may not handle with a hook, but I'm sure as hell not touching around the face. Will's a fucking ballsy motherfucker. Shout out to that motherfucker. He's a badass. I love him.
Yeah, I remember watching that video, and there's very few videos of even free handling where I will look away. I'm not kidding. The video with your rattlesnake with Will Nace handle, I literally, like, not even voluntarily, like involuntarily, like looked away from the screen because I'm like, something terrible is about to happen. It Honestly, was just like it was just that in me, you know. And again, like I trust you guys to understand your animals. I think for me it was just not knowing the back end. It makes me feel better to know the backside, that you would kind of give him the heads up that, like, hey, this is the way I've kind of handled this animal before. He's probably cool. Right. You know, that makes a lot more sense now. Because, man, in my mind, when I saw that episode, I was like, what is he doing? Like, this isn't even his snake. He doesn't even know that animal. Like,
no,
I was freaking out.
I'm not even going to take anything away from him. That was still, like, some crazy-ass shit.
Oh,
but
yeah.
Nonetheless, when I pulled that Jasmine, the Lucy Cobra out, and he did what he did with that one 100%, I was just like, what are you doing? This animal is going to fucking kill you, bro. Yeah. What are you? Oh my god! Like I the whole time I was sweating it hard, and the dude's a fucking, like, he's like, honestly, man, like you gotta give him his due diligence. He knows what he's doing. He's you can see him. Like you watch how he works with them. He'll do a head tap, like like honestly, it's the only way I ever get an animal to actually like hood up sometimes when they're running really hard. So he'll hood tap them real good, but he does it so much better, into the point where they'll stand up almost 2 feet taller, and to a point where it's just like, how do you have that touch? It's incredible to me. Like I like when I do it, I get him to flatten out, but I can never get him to stand up the way he does.
Yeah, I think there's definitely something to be said about that. You know, and I never thought about that before until literally this moment of, like, because I'm personally I'm not a fan of free handling in the sense of, again, on camera, just because I don't see any good way that, just because I've seen kind of the back end of, like, I saw a video of a guy, like, carrying a gaboon viper down the streets of New York City and, like, filming it because he's just like, you know what I mean? And it's just like, and again,
I've seen that video.
That's not that's not Will Nace's fault. You know what I mean? And I would never say that it is, but it's just like, fuck, that's a bad look. You know, it's just a bad look for everybody. And again, I don't want to dive into, like, whether or not free handling is good, bad, or otherwise. But yeah, I do think that, man, there's something to be said about it, in the sense that there is something, there's an understanding, there's a skill, there's an ability that guys like Will have, you know what I mean, that the average person, or even, you know, some, again, like, it's validating for me to hear it from you, for you to say that, like, yeah, like, it's not just because he's got balls, you know, like he's not just a ballsy dude, like he really does know what he's doing, and it's, you know, from someone that has experience with those snakes to say like, hey, he has something different. That's a cool thing to hear.
I really honestly, yeah. I never really there was a long point where although I said I would personally freehandle, I would never really be too supportive of others that would videotape it or photograph it, you know. And then after meeting Will, I was just like, all right, well, I kind of feel like an asshole now, man, talking shit about that. He's such a nice guy too. And even it's just so hard to be mean to him, you know. You can't even shit on him after you meet him because you're just like, man, am I the dick?
Yeah.
Fuck.
Well, I've talked to Will. I've talked to Will a handful of times, and it's absolutely the case, you know, where it's just like, I'm like, man, I can't even shit on free handling anymore because I like Will so much, you know.
Right. I think it's so much even about shit.
And those two are, those two for the record are not mutually exclusive. Like I can, and I work, to be clear, I'm going to try to have Will on this at some point. It's in the works. We're just waiting on him to kind of get moved and get settled into his new place and all that. But I want to talk to him about it. I hope he sees this. Because I want to just do the deep dive on that shit, man, and really, you know, let him know, like, hey, man, I totally don't support this. I totally don't support it. Like, I really, really don't. I don't support it at all.
Yeah.
But I say that out loud from the standpoint of I want somebody to explain to me why it's okay, and I mean that genuinely. Like, I'm not saying it like, you got to tell me why. I'm saying I really want to have a better understanding of the thought process.
Well, and I think that's something that's going to be good for us, Zach. You know, the way that we interact together and the way that we interact with people is neither of us are going to try to tell anyone, you know, what's right or wrong, what they're doing, you know, 100%. Nor are we the reptile police. It's just convince me, you know, that's, if this was a wide open conversation, convince me of why this thing is, and that's
pretty much my stance. Is I'm like, I have a very libertarian stance on everything. I'm like, hey man, everybody do whatever the fuck you want, you know, exactly. As long as it doesn't affect me or hurt anyone else, or, you know what I mean, cool, I'm good. And that's why I at the end of the day, I don't have a problem with it. I only have an issue with it because I'm like, fuck, are we hyping this up too much, you know? And that's literally it. Because again, as a person, me personally, I love watching Tyler Nolan's videos. I love watching Will Nace's videos. I love watching Chandler Wildlife. I love watching those guys free handle. Bruce, if you were I love to watch people handle venomous snakes. I love venomous snakes. I really do. I have an obsession with this shit. I have since I was a kid. I think it's the same. Fuck, as I've gotten older, I worry so much about the backside, and I think that's the issue. For me, the problem really lies within the regulating bodies and shit. That's the reality of the problem is the regulations and the laws and the bullshit. But we also can't deny the reality, right? We can't ignore that that's the world we live in, and that's not going to go away, I guess, is the thing. So,
well, I mean, the one thing that sort of kind of piles up on a lot of that is and I don't understand how it's not regularly used in all this regulation and stuff, is that you know, most of your bites and stuff like that are usually happening when you're not free handling.
Sure.
It's happening when you're making complacent mistakes.
Yeah.
It's typically I recently there was a gentleman last year who got bit by a gabby that was being goofy and just reached inside the cage before pulling the animal out, which is it's a cardinal rule, you know what I mean? You don't ever clean the cage without pulling the animal out first, you know, those are typical things, but it's you have these complacent mistakes like that, and that's generally what kind of fucks everybody, you know, is those types of things. It's not really the guy sitting there going hey, I've got a cobra, I'm gonna try to kiss it, bro. Right. Don't get me wrong, there's the occasional idiot that gets bit because he's doing stupid shit, but I feel that the amount really isn't the guys free handling, the amount really forwarding towards the guys that are like making complacent mistakes. So if you don't have a regular like safety protocol for every animal, like for instance, like me and Jessica both are the only people that walk into our room. They're the only ones who have codes into the venomous snake's room. Every key is different for each individual cage. Like we have bite protocols set up and everything like that. Like we have even recently contacted our emergency room. I figured while I was broken foot, I figured I'd talk to them. But like I talked to some recent emergency room people, and I told them like, hey, these are the animals we have. You know what I mean? I try to update them on some of the stuff that we have going on, you know, and try not to be like too crazy secretive, because like if something God forbid were to happen, I don't want to be caught off guard, and I also don't want them caught off guard, you know.
Yeah, and
I think that's super important.
Yeah,
you know, like, because I think more so, like you just said, the whole cryptic, secretive, you know, I don't want people to know I have this, and because when something happens,
you already know you're doing something wrong if you gotta hide it.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Right.
And I think that it's the lack of education and the lack of honesty is what gets a lot of these legislators, you know, because they don't know what the fuck they're talking about. Like, they're not in the know. So, like, if more people are doing what you're doing and, you know, having these protocols, having bite protocols, having, you know, already talked with hospitals and have everything in place to where if the worst imaginable situation does happen, and so by some fluke chance, you do get envenomated by one of your animals, you've taken every possible step to make it as smooth of a incident as possible, even though it's not a great situation, but you're making it the most responsibly handled situation that you can. And that's what it's all about, man. Like, I appreciate you saying that, and I hope everybody that keeps HOTS takes a note from your book and does exactly what you just said you did.
Yeah.
The one thing I like, anybody that asks me like, hey, I want to get a rattlesnake and stuff like that, they always like, oh, I want to get into HOTS, what do I do, and da. And I don't really want to give people advice on that, just because I don't really want to be like, hey, I'm the person you need to go to ask about that kind of stuff. I think there are much more experienced people out there that may have much better things to say than I do. But at the same time, like listen, it's $3,200 for a single vial of crowfab.
Yep.
And generally, most bites cost you about 12 to 13 vials. And that's so like last time I looked it up, there was a guy who had gotten bitten by a timber rattlesnake, and actually it cost him $250,000 in hospital bills.
Yeah,
so
that's
like,
what I was gonna say. I've heard the minimum was like $100,000 for like a minor in and out kind of bite, like.
Depending on the bite, the location, and everything. Yeah. I mean, like, honestly, the one thing that I got told from day one when I wanted to get into venomous snakes was, you're either going to go dead or you're going to go broke. One or the other.
I've heard that actually pretty recently. It was the first time I heard it, and honestly, it was like, okay, it really talked me out of venomous. Like, for me personally, because again, I'm all about just like logic. I'm like, okay, I can't afford to keep these, you know, like because I can't afford for something to happen. You know, that's just the reality.
That was kind of like my wife's biggest thing is like, there's two species I'm not allowed to keep. Any taipans or any mambas I'm not allowed to have. Jessica's crossed the line and said nope on that one. Yeah. Even though I've begged 1,000 times for a black mamba, dude, I want someone so bad. But Jessica and I want to have kids one day, so she said no.
There's, and man, I think of, and everybody's, again, whatever anybody wants to do, I'm cool with it. If it doesn't affect me, I don't care what anybody does. But I'm all about like risk versus reward, you know, and like what's the benefit? What am I gaining from having this animal and keeping it in captivity versus, you know, the potential risk. And with everything that I have right now, the risk is basically zero, you know, outside of like a little nip. Nothing in here is going to give me a bite worse than a dog, you know what I mean? A dog bite would be way worse. But I want some venomous, but I think I'm going to be pretty selective. Dude, I would love to have a gaboon. Bradley's heard me say this many times on here, but I don't think I'll ever have a gaboon. I don't know. I think I want some squams. We'll see. I don't know.
But
yeah, it's
so I don't have a squam, but I do have the chlorecus, the West African bush.
Yeah.
And that dude, that thing's cool. I love it, but I probably will be the only one I keep, just because just like I imagine if I had captive bred, I wouldn't have such a huge issue. But like if I get anything wild caught, I'm already skeptical if it's gonna live. So I'm just like, I just don't even bother with that guy. I didn't spend a lot of money on it, but I spent more time and effort that cost me money just to keep it alive. And I was just like, I'm done with the Atheris. That's the one I keep.
That seems to be kind of common in venomous, and I guess because there's a lot of stuff that just comes in as wild caught. Is that why again, maybe it's just, to me, it seems like there's a lot more like parasites and just like weird issues that happen with them.
Sometimes, like, so for instance, if I have mites are one thing. So we all know how to preventively go against mites and stuff like that. The other thing is like generally, especially with wild ones, we come across ticks and stuff like that. So snake ticks, those are the ones that I generally need to take to a vet, just because like they're gonna have the shots that we need to give them to try to like flush all that out of their system.
Yeah, flush the parrot.
So like that's generally one of the few times I've ever had to do that is when I've had like animals with ticks. That's probably the nice thing about actually like knowing a vet locally that's gonna work with you and your venomous animals. Sometimes most people don't understand, like, hey, there are some people who will and some who really, really won't.
Yeah.
They won't touch them,
Yeah, because I don't have any, but I don't know where I would take them in North Carolina if I did have them. I'm sure, I know there's someone out there, I'm sure, but I don't know who that person would be. Again, that's just another layer of complication, I guess.
Honestly, you're gonna. I always tell people, if you're looking for a vet, you're gonna find more luck with private facilities than you will with like the larger ones, just because like a lot of times with larger ones, they're gonna be asking for more than what most people can provide. Hey, do you have anti-venom on hand? And
Yeah.
And it's just like, well, you're probably
just
not gonna have
walk
that.
in the door. Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally get it.
Well,
what were you gonna say, Bradley? Go ahead.
Yeah, I was just so we've hit on a couple of the species that you have. As far as outside of your hots, what all do you and Jessica have at your house outside of your venomous snakes?
So I have just kind of small eclectic group, but like mainly boa constrictors. So we have some cool morphs like leopard morphs. We have some super hypo jungle mixes and all that kind of cool shit. But like I don't really know if we're ever really gonna breed them. We just keep them because they're beautiful. We like the way they look and stuff like that. Weirdly enough, I have more venomous snakes than I do any other kind of snake. But outside of that though, like we have some lizards here too. I've got a large black.
About those next.
Yeah, I've got a large black and white Argentine tegu. I also have an Asian water he's about 5 maybe 6 feet long, and he's a younger guy, but he's kind of weird. Honestly, it was weird. Like, every time I try to take a picture of him, he's a weird motherfucker. But I pull him out and I'll play with him all day long and never have an issue with him. But he's kind of like Toothless at the Reptarium. He likes to get up on your shoulders and take a big shit on you. That's the only thing I ever really had with him. But I love the animal to death. I also have an Abronia Lithokyla. That was actually a gift from Forrest that I still have. So I love that animal to death. Like I've taken pictures of it recently. That thing's fucking hiding all the goddamn time. I never see it ever. Like so. But that's one of my more prize lizards, I guess, I have here. But let's see. What else? Oh, actually, you know what? I do have a python. I have a Burmese python. I Forgot about that motherfucker.
Don't
Yeah,
tell
it's-
Dylan.
So-
our
so-
guest from 2 weeks ago, Dylan, he that was his choice for Reptile of the Week, which we'll get to with you here in a little bit, was Burmese Pythons. He's head over heels for the Burms, which I like Burms too, but Dylan's...
This is one of my first snakes. First snakes I ever had was a Burm. So I don't by any means want to hate on it. And that's the only reason I still have one, is like I end up going on to like boa constrictors, green tree pythons, emerald tree boa, stuff like that. But like when it really came down to it, I had to keep a Burm always. So I have this pearl het green Burmese Python that his name's Homer. He looks like the man himself. So, but yeah, he's a bit of a dick though. Not gonna lie, I've never had a Burmese Python musk on me before.
Dylan just said, "Damn you, Bruce, send her here."
Oh, the Burmese Python.
Yeah.
Hey, you can take that thing. Yeah, I'm tired. I'm tired of it pissing on me.
So man, I got a question that I don't know if you've been asked on any type of thing like this, or even like doing Barczyk's podcasts when you and Noah and everybody were on.
Oh man,
there.
I haven't been in those podcasts in a minute.
I know that you get to because you and I were just talking about it before this went live. I know you get to interact and meet a lot of different people in the reptile community just by being where you're. What's been kind of your highlight, you know, the thing that's had the most impact on you of people that you've gotten to interact with just from, you know, the position that you're at with Brian?
All right, so do you want the cheesy answer, or do you want like
We want the real uncut shit.
All right. So really and truly, man, like the one person I've been thankful to have ever met was Brian. Like I never knew who he was. I never heard who he was. Never knew a damn thing about him. Like the weirdest thing was like Brian was like one of those personalities that I had such a hard time not being loyal to.
Sure.
And like at first, like I had my own conflicts with like what was going on and how we were doing things and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And there was nothing wrong with what Brian was doing. It was just more or less like I didn't understand how like really it was to keep animals like he had, you know what I mean? Like he wanted to strive for a better way to do all this, and he kept pushing, and even though people kept shitting on him, it was still this positive, like we're going forward, you know. So like I always really like I can't honestly go without personally thinking Brian's the most valuable, the most wonderful person I've ever met. Now, like I said, if we're talking like celebrities and shit like that, I have to say, and I know this is a complete left turn, but meeting Kerry King from Slayer, holy shit!
Who are you even talking to right now?
Yeah.
Come on.
No, I saw that. Don't you worry.
No, I just mean you don't have to feel like you're taking a left turn. Trust me, you're in good company.
Yeah. I'll tell you right now, that was like a pinnacle point for me. Like Brian literally was just like I remember talking to him like a month prior to this and not thinking anything about it. I was just like, he just goes like, hey, yeah, you know, whenever Slayer comes up, I'm definitely going to go, you know, see him and da-da-da. I was like, Brian, you know what? I love Slayer. I'm a huge fucking fan. I would love to go actually with you whenever you get a chance. And never said another goddamn thing about it. I swear to God, I thought he forgot about it, didn't give a shit. I was sitting there going like, I was like, wow, I kind of feel like I've been sort of duped. Like, yeah, I don't think he listened to I feel like I was sitting there going like, he didn't listen to me. He didn't really give a shit at all.
But what it really was is that he didn't want to make a promise right off the rip. He heard you, and he put that shit in the back of his mind and was like,
100%.
Okay,
100%.
I got you, Bruce. I got you.
Yeah, so he ended up coming up one day, and I swear to God, I felt like it was like 3 or 4 days before the concert. But he comes up and he goes, hey, I've got like backstage passes. We're going to be like the third row back, right up front, and all this other shit. You know what I mean? Like, really, like, hey, I got these tickets. You want to go? And I was just like, fuck yeah. And so then we go, right? we get to the parking lot, and Brian's just like, "Oh, hey, Carrie gave me one extra ticket, and I don't have anybody that's willing to go." And he walks in the parking lot and talks to this one guy, and he goes, "Hey, do you want to sit up front?" And the guy was just like, completely like, "Yes, fuck yeah, dude, I want to go up front." And like, the worst part was that the guy was shit faced by the time he got to the seat, and we all had to deal with it.
But you had to sit with him.
This guy that Brian was being super nice to, just like hooked him up with a sweet ass fucking pair of seats, and the guy was just shit faced, just like all over everybody, and we're just like, "Oh, well, whatever."
Well, there's a reason he was the only guy around when Brian was like, "Shit, we need to find somebody to give this ticket to."
Dude, I'm telling you, dude, that is literally the person Brian is.
No,
Brian was just I'm not selling this. I'm just gonna hand it to somebody.
Well, and that's
somebody. Here you go.
That was literally where my head went, because literally that's every story that I've ever heard about Brian Barczyk. He's like the nicest guy, literally, like to the point of almost where you think he's like never existed on the planet Earth before. Where he's like, "Hey man, do you understand there's bad people out there? Do you understand there's idiots out there?" And he's like,
"Oh, are you shitting me?
No, I don't."
My God. I'm surprised. Like the stories he told me from South Africa, I'm surprised he hasn't gotten killed. Like, he's just so overly trusting. Like, "Oh yeah, let's go ahead, yeah, whatever." And he's just like, and it's just like 2 minutes too late, and he's just like, "Are we gonna die?" Like, holy shit, man! Like, hey, like, oh fuck, Brian, dude, come on, man! Like, you need to have somebody. This is why he has Lori. Lori's that realization of like, "Hey, that's stupid. Don't do that." You know what I mean? Like,
Lori's the handler that makes sure that Brian stays alive.
Oh
She's
yeah,
the keeper.
100%. Lori runs this shit.
Yeah. No, I love that, man. That makes me so happy. It really, really does. In all seriousness, and it actually it reminds me of a story that I'll come back to. We'll come back. We'll circle back around to it. Go ahead, brother.
Circle back.
To touch on that, like the way I met Bruce, the way that I went to the Reptarium with Cusco, and like that in and of itself, like the way I've talked about that, the way Brian treated me, but like I never expected it to be how it was. Like I expected us to go and like, they were friends and we would film stuff or whatever. But then it's like, "Oh, y'all come back to the house," and everybody, and like, me and Bruce talked for probably 30-45 minutes after everybody kind of was doing their own thing. And like I told him then, I was like, "Man, it's crazy that like, Brian's such a humble, down to earth, amazing dude." Because like, I mean, he could easily, being who he is, he could easily be an asshole, and but he's not, man. Like he's a legit, humble, awesome person. And I mean, even the things that Bruce told me that night, about Brian, we don't have to go into it, but like, it made me respect him even more just from the things that Bruce had told. And he's an awesome guy. We have a question from the comments that I wanted to touch on real quick. Nathan C asked, "Bruce, how much work does the Tegu take with you and Jessica working so much at BHB?"
Honestly, the Tegu is the easy one. But so really the Tegu is just like, it's just super food driven. So it's just about keeping him pretty well fed. And then after that, it's just like scooping and handling. You know what I mean? Like he's not super huge right now, so I wouldn't really say like, I would say he's a full size Tegu. But that's been the kind of the general consensus in my past working with Tegus. It's always been kind of the same thing. It's just like sometimes you get some that are a little more nippier than others, but you just got to be willing to kind of scoop and play with them. Like do what you got to do. It's a lot of times like if you can get that clear communication of like, here I'm feeding you and here I'm not, it's pretty simple with Tegus.
Awesome.
That's awesome.
While we're right here, you guys want to roll into some of the weekly segments that we do?
Let's go.
Weekly segments.
Exactly. We need to get you to make us a weekly segment intro every time we do this.
Yeah, one day we'll be fancy, and
we're not real
it'll
fancy,
flash up on the
Bruce.
screen.
My mom used to say had a face for radio. Oh wait.
So, first weekly segment that we do every week is a musical artist or band of the week. So, Bruce, you're the guest. It can be anybody from the past, anybody right now, just whoever you've been listening to. It can be local people, your friends, anybody that you want to shout out for people to listen to.
So I guess I got two of them. To me, I've always liked sort of like your kind of classic rock and blues sort of feel of like some of your bands and stuff like that. I don't really like how the way this band's recently gone, but their old stuff is amazing. Blackstone Cherry.
Okay.
Yeah.
Blackstone Cherry. I've been to like 4 of their concerts when they were originally coming in. So they would open for like Three Doors Down and a couple other things. They were never really the main band, but man, that classic like heavy blues, like, oh man, I would love playing on the guitar, like playing the riffs that they would do. It's just like some of them are fairly simple, but it was just so heavy. I just I fucking loved it. For sure. But that, and I gotta give my buddy Jeremy Turgeon a shout out. That man, I tell you, every time I listen to the music that dude does, I freaking love it. I'm not even a big jazz guy, but oh, holy shit, dude. Man, I kind of want to get like a sweet little pipe, and listen to his music and just be like, yes, this is it.
So,
no, totally makes sense.
Just to hit a little number on that, since you brought him up, it hasn't been announced yet, but Jeremy is scheduled to be on Connected by Creatures on March 5th, I believe that's what it is. We will, March. Friday.
For the record, I'm excited. I didn't even know about this. Bradley handles all of our scheduling, so I get surprised like weekly as to who our guests are. It's been great.
Yeah. Friday, March 5th, Jeremy Turgeon will be on.
I'm fucking stoked because I literally thought about him today.
Like seriously, just make him sing for you. The man has a voice of an angel.
Yeah, and he does all those little
guy.
That little app that he's been using on Facebook and doing all those runs and stuff. Like,
dude. Just remind me of how less talented I am. Thanks, appreciate it, fucker.
Like, join in with the rest of us normal people, Bruce. It's gonna be fun.
Yeah, we're the normies. We're all the normies.
Destruction.
Well, I guess we can transition into that really quickly.
We'll
do that after.
We'll go ahead and finish the segments, and then we'll swing back around to that destruction. Stay tight, man. Listen in, and we'll get to you in just a second.
And thanks again for
Zach,
being here.
Who's your band of the week?
My band of the week is a gentleman by the name of Benjamin Todd. You know me. I never prepare for mine like way ahead of time. But yeah, Benjamin Todd. He literally like got his start as a street performer. He was a heroin addict, like literally, like I'm talking like busker, like I'm playing my guitar so I can go get a shot of heroin kind of guy. Literally, like through that was a train hopper, just a traveling guy, and like met his current wife as a result of like this lifestyle that he led, and met all these crazy people, literally hopping trains for years and years and years. And like a lot of his music is about just like hopping trains and again just like that whole life of like he was raised by his grandfather originally. His grandfather thought he was going to be a pastor, when he was young, and then obviously he went way the other direction with that, and so it's just the guy's lived, man. He's had a hell of a life, and I can appreciate his perspective, of which there are many. Literally from one song to the next, if you listen to the words, you would almost not believe that those lyrics are being written by the same person that lived the same life, if that makes sense. Where there are literally
makes plenty of sense.
And it's his lyrics are really deep, man. And he's got also like his band with his wife. He's got a band that he works in. I can't remember the name off the top of my head, but it's Benjamin Todd is himself, and he's got some solo stuff. But it's also Benjamin Todd with his wife, and they have some amazing music together. I would encourage anyone to check out both of those.
Weirdly enough, I've found a lot of bands that I've enjoyed simply because of the overall value of the lyrics, and maybe not necessarily because I enjoyed the music itself. It's sort of weird how that kind of developed that way. Because at a younger point, I was just like, I was a metalhead. There was like, I swear I would never listen to anything at all unless it was like freaking hardcore Cannibal Corpse, man. I was just like, whatever, and at the time I didn't really until I got older, I just started realizing, oh shit, man, like when you really listen to, like, I may not necessarily like how this music is composed, but man, the lyrics are deep and valuable. There's almost juiciness to it,
Yeah, that actually, as I've gotten older, that has been more and more apparent. I actually remember being in high school and almost kind of hating myself for liking certain bands, because I'm like, this is bullshit. Like, this is not music I'm supposed to like. But yet the lyrics spoke to me. You know what I mean? Like, the lyrics had that effect. And I genuinely do. I remember there were probably, literally, I think my entire high school, there were bands that I listened to that I would never have admitted to anyone that I listened to. They were only for me. It was only a band I would listen to in my free time. Like Bright Eyes, I would literally, like, Bright Eyes was my high school, man. I listened to a ton of Bright Eyes in high school, while also being known as like the most metal kid in my high school. Like, I listened to, I was all about metal, but I also listened to Conor Oberst of Bright Eyes, and like those are my two, and I was open about the fact that I like Bright Eyes, but again, there's a ton of stuff in between, like Tyler Childers, country stuff that these days now I'm like, man, high school me would kick my ass for listening to this stuff, but it's just good. But yeah, Benjamin Todd, man, he's got a lot to say. I'll end on this. There's a video out there of him almost getting into a fist fight with a larger, more mainstream country artist outside of a venue, because he's like, man, fuck you. He's like, you ain't never lived through some fucking hard shit. And he's just a street artist. Like, that's his like stance on like music and the music industry, and like the way that he writes his songs. And so for anybody that appreciates stuff like that, you'll appreciate Benjamin Todd. The album, I always tell people, an album that I start with was I Will Rise. Every song in there is just fucking great. That's all good. So that's my one for the week. Bradley, what you got?
So I had actually decided on someone different, but when me and Bruce were talking before we actually went live, I tend to do this every week. Like, the conversation always changes my mind. But this week I'm going with Skid Row.
Okay.
And like we were talking before about bands, that kind of shaped us when we were kids and coming up, in the music that we listened to and shit like that. And man, I would be doing everybody a disservice by not mentioning Skid Row, because, like, not just the songs that everybody knows, like 18 in Life and, fucking I'll Remember You and shit like that.
Yeah.
But like some of the more offbeat stuff, like Wasted Time and
that's a good one. That's a good song. I like that one.
What's the other one, man, that I can't think of the name of it right now, but
man, I am horrible with this one.
Yeah, but I mean, they're just one of those bands that, like, they got lumped in with the rest of the hair bands, but dude, they were fucking brutal ass metal. Like Slave to the Grind and Sweet Little Sister and like all those Monkey Business, like that's fucking just straight up metal. And
yeah,
they shaped me a lot. And like Sebastian Bach, he may have been a dick or whatever, but like his voice is insane.
But he's purely talented. He really is. At the end of the day, like, that's the unfortunate reality sometimes, is that like the most talented people sometimes turn out to be dickheads,
Honestly, I'm not gonna lie.
In a Darkened Room. In a Darkened Room is the other song that I was trying to think of. That song's fucking. The lyrics to that are insane.
Sebastian Bach totally redeemed himself when I saw him on Trailer Park Boys.
Oh man, I'm gonna have to check that. I don't think I've seen him on Trailer Park Boys. He was on Trailer Park Boys?
Yeah, oh yeah.
Oh, I just regained all the respect for him in the world. I haven't even seen it yet. I'm excited to check it out.
Man. Fuck yeah.
That's awesome.
So, next segment is a movie or TV show of the week. So, Bruce, same thing as music or band, whatever TV show or movie that you've watched recently, and like we go way back. Sometimes we do new stuff. Sometimes so it's whatever you think people should watch.
It could be literally what you watched this morning. It doesn't matter.
So, man, this is always kind of a fun one. So I always got at least a couple movies in my head, but I'm gonna go weird. We're gonna go weird.
Yeah, please,
right.
Let's do it.
There's a movie out there that was banned by the United States that was called The Cannibal Holocaust.
Oh fuck yeah! Come on, man.
And that to me is probably one of the more brutal movies that you'll ever see.
The Green Inferno, dog. It's the Green.
The Green Inferno is a good one too. That's another really, really, really good
one.
No.
No. The Green Inferno stole its title from the second half of the Cannibal Holocaust. Like when.
No. I understand. Like did David Lee Roth or David Roth
Eli Roth
remake Eli Roth. My bad. I'm David Lee Roth. You guys got me on the fucking songs. But yeah, so the Eli Roth recreation of the Green Inferno, like both of them are really good. I thought the Green Inferno was really good. It was definitely gory as shit, which is like classic Eli Roth. But like watching the Cannibal Holocaust to me was just like, it was almost kind of like, all right, I've officially watched one of the weirder movies I've seen in a while. You know what I mean? I've seen some fucked up fucking movies. Like there was this Asian movie I've seen a while back that's called Ichi the Killer, where this dude was like jerking off.
Ichi the Killer!
Like, yeah.
For the record, I have that not on DVD, but I have that on a ripped, like stolen, like I bought it out of somebody's trunk DVD.
When I was I saw that when I was 18, and I had that on the original DVD, so it had like blood on the front of it and shit. And there was like semen. Yeah. There was like semen on the fucking top of it.
Yeah. Bruce, how old are you?
30.
Okay, I was gonna say you got to be close to my age because I remember watching it when I was like 16 or so. Like literally, like at my buddy's apartment, like we bought it from a dude that he bought all of his ripped DVDs from, and I still own it to this day. So I've owned that DVD for like 16 years. I still have it. I have it around somewhere. Have you
seen that one? Have you seen Naked Lunch?
I have not seen Naked Lunch, but
I haven't seen that one either.
See Naked Lunch. Oh my god! If you like Ichi the Killer, you're gonna fucking love Naked Lunch because that's a weird fucking movie. That's a weird movie.
Yeah, Ichi the Killer. For the record, I just want to throw this out there. Anybody that watches this after the fact, don't judge us. Please don't.
Yeah, really, please.
You gotta.
Please.
Yeah, you gotta watch it a couple times.
Threw me down my fucking wormhole right here.
And it's not just like, oh, I enjoyed that. It's just like I'm really intrigued by this. The first time, and then the second time you're like, all right, this is good. Because it's weird. It's super weird. It's super out there. It's super brutal.
Yeah.
It's just it's got everything. I mean, it does.
Cannibal Holocaust is super brutal too. Like when it first came out, like they thought the people really got murdered.
Turtle scene.
I've only seen clips from it. I've never seen the entire thing, and I've only seen clips from the fact that it's like
simulated,
band, and that's why
that's real.
Why I've only seen clips.
The little monkey, that's real. Like
just about everything in there is real. Yeah. This was brutal. It's a brutal ass movie.
Yeah. Zach,
but that's also why it's like life changing. It makes sense. I'm gonna go with SLC Punk, man. That's like one of my.
Good one.
That's like one of my like growing up films, because like I literally remember being in high school, and it's literally like a piece of my life. Like I remember being in high school and being like kind of like punk or whatever, and I remember like catching shit from my friends because they're like, oh, why the fuck do you want to go to college, but like you're claiming to be like a fucking punk and this and the other. I'm like, yeah, but like I want to make a lot of money and like live. I understand that I've always been that way where I'm like, yeah, fuck the system, but like also I understand there's still like the system, and like I gotta kind of work within it so I can make money and live. And I had those kind of thoughts and opinions like prior to even watching or even knowing about the movie. And then I saw the movie for the first time, and I'm like, see, this is what I'm talking about. I'm like, I'm not fucking crazy, you know? And so, like, literally as, like, a 14-year-old kid seeing that for the first time and, like, really identifying with it and, like, really appreciating the fact that I'm like, fuck this bullshit, like, drama society that I'm involved in, and, like, fuck this mainstream just, like, you know what I mean? Like, and obviously I think anybody that knows me a little bit knows that I'm still that way. Like, I'm a 32-year-old man with gauges, and like, you know, I do weird shit and tattoos and blah blah. I'm very much like outside the box, but at the same time I understand like there's a system that we all have to kind of work within. That movie fucking spoke to me, and it still does to this day. Like, it's one of those, I couldn't tell you how many times I've watched it. I own it on DVD. I've easily watched it 100 times, and every single time, even now.
Same here.
Yeah,
I've seen that movie so many times.
And I have to watch it. I promise you, I've watched it at least 3 to 4 times a year, every year since. Like, I was obsessed with it. Even now, just because it's just one of those that just stays on the rotation, like periodically I'm like, oh, I need to watch it. It'll pop into my head. I'm like, I have to watch that now. You know, it's like one of those, you remember it and you get excited, you know, the whole acid trip and everything else. And I'm telling you, man, the older I get, the more little points of it that like I didn't notice before I'm getting now. Even still, it doesn't matter how many times I rewatch it, I still pull something out, some little detail, some little line, or some look that a character makes to someone or whatever. That's something I appreciate, and it's just so fucking good. So like anybody that hasn't seen it at all, I both feel sorry for you but also envy you, because I'm so excited for you to check it out.
Oh, you definitely gotta watch. You have
it's so
to watch
good
it if you haven't seen it.
Yeah, it's one of those where I'm like, I've debated on like getting tattoos that reference that movie and stuff like that, and I will at some point, because that movie changed my life in many ways.
That movie's really wanted me to like drive a car into Salt Lake City.
Yes.
Just to Salt Lake. I really want
There's so many moments in that movie where like I just want to do this just cause.
Like,
or
yeah,
like,
I want to see a car float in the water. That'd be amazing.
Yeah, I mean, so like when I found out Bradley, our buddy Nathan Katz lives like near Salt Lake City, I'm like, I want to come visit you just so I can see what it's like. Why? Because of some shit I saw on SLC Punk. Like I literally only want to go visit him there, so I can be like, I need you to show me everywhere that was filmed in SLC Punk. That's it. Oh, dude, outside of that, I don't give a fuck to see you, Nathan. If you're still here and watching, I'm sorry.
$600 it would cost to get a beater and just drive that bad boy right.
And just drown it there. Yeah. I'm telling you, man. And every individual character in that movie literally is like a person that I've met. And I continue to still meet people that I compare to people from that movie, you know, and it's just, man, it's so fucking. I'm gonna have to watch it before I go to bed tonight. I get so amped just talking about that movie because it's just that good.
Jessica's over here frothing at the teeth too, because that's one of her favorite movies.
Thanks, Jessica. Hi. That's awesome, man. I'm stoked. Yeah,
that's what this segment's all about, though. Is like, you know, bringing up that movie, and you know. That's why we do this thing. In
case you can't tell, I get super amped about the movie or the music. Cusco, we were talking about SLC Punk. Brian Cusco in the chat. What's up, brother? Yeah, man, it's
Cusco.
Fuck, I love these. I love these
honestly,
so much.
Every time I hear his name, I think of fucking Emperor's New Groove. Cusco. Cusco.
Yes, Mindy, exactly. Like that was. I had never even taken acid before, and then I heard about that from SLC Punk, and I'm like, is that actually a thing? I don't know if that's actually a thing or not, but that sounds insane.
And absorbing and shit.
Yeah. Well, and then the visual that they did.
I was totally freaked out by that.
So was I. I
never would put acid in my pocket exactly for that movie.
And that's what
not do it.
Bruce, I was just going to say, the first time I took acid, I had thoughts of that scene. I was like, what if it's just like SLC Punk? What if it's actually like SLC Punk? What if I should have actually taken the warning as fact? It was all fine. But, I mean, I had a terrible trip because I took 8 hits of acid my first time taking acid, but that's a whole nother story for another day. It was terrible. Oh, man, yeah, Aurora, you got to watch SLC Punk for sure.
Oh my god, such a great movie.
So good. Oh my god. So like literally every scene. I'm like, this is great. Oh, I get amped up talking about it.
All right. So again, I'm changing what I had already thought of because Bruce is right down my alley with Cannibal Holocaust. Like that's my shit. So I went on a kind of a journey for a few years to watch the most disturbing movies I could find. Like the more disturbing it was supposed to be, like I wanted to challenge myself to it. And I watched a Serbian film and I watched all that shit that everybody says was super disturbing, which it was, don't get me wrong. But the most hardcore movie I've ever seen in my entire life is called Melancholia der Engels. And it translates from German into Angel's Melancholy. And it's pretty much the most brutal, hard shit to watch you'll ever see. And the director is actually a woman. And she's in prison now for making that movie.
Oh, shit. Yeah. That sounds like something right up my alley.
Like, I mean, if you've seen Martyrs, or if you've seen like Salo, 120 Days in Sodom, like all those hardcore old like French movies that were really, really intense. This movie
you're talking about, yeah. I don't know the names too well, but I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
All that stuff's like Barney and Friends compared to Angel's Melancholy.
Jesus Christ. Holy shit.
This is it's I mean, and the whole thing is basically these people go to this like cabin out in the woods, and they have like this occult ritual, and it's just, I'm not going to go into it because like if one day this does become monetized, I would get completely shut down just for talking about this. But yeah, Angel's Melancholy or
the SEC has joined the chat.
Melancholia der Engels. Like, check that shit out. Like, it's super hardcore. Sure. I don't know where Zach went.
See, you mentioned that movie, and
Zach just gets Zach just gets zapped. Aliens abducted him.
I'm telling you, man. SEC joined the chat. They know what's going on right now. They're listening.
You know what it was? It was Brian Barczyk. Oh, that's a pod person. He's an imposter. That's not really Zach.
Listen, I just had to pee.
That's the Russian Zach.
Oh,
I just had to pee.
The Russian Zach.
Listen, I'm not a professional like Brian Cusco. I don't have a jar just yet. And honestly, if I had a jar, it would have had to have been about a gallon because I had to pee like crazy. Because I've had
exactly.
like
honestly, until you said pee, I didn't know what the fuck you meant by jar. I was just saying, oh, you gotta. What do you need a jar for?
Yeah. Bruce, I
was like,
forgot.
no, I totally get the jar thing because I can't fucking move. So.
Yeah, Cusco. We
segue into answering the question.
Yeah.
What happened to your foot?
What happened to my foot? Okay, well. Basically, we were trying to create a. I don't remember what the stupid dance was. I remember being really against doing it in the first fucking place. But we were trying to do a TikTok video for the Reptarium. So it was it's for our account. So we have a bunch of animals out. I'm holding Toothless. Jay's holding Owl, the big giant marine toad, and who else? Couple of the other guys were holding just some like just some no-name stuff. They're just random shit, and like we were supposed to like do some like one-shot like dance thing or whatever. I don't know. I was trying to do my best, and I honestly fucked up like the first 3 shots because I didn't know what the fuck was going on.
Right.
And again, I really want to point out I was completely against doing any of this. But anyways, so the giant marine toad takes a big piss all over the place. and there's probably a puddle that's probably would rival my own piss puddle, really.
Okay.
So there's just a bunch of water on the floor. So Jay goes like, our camera guy Jay, he goes, all right, well let me put the fucking toad up. So he starts walking away in toad, and somebody else just goes like, well let's just try to do the video again real quick. Let's just try to knock it out before Jay gets back. And so we're like, all right, let's try it. So we did it, and I walk over with Toothless in my hand like this, and I go and I slip on the piss, and I go backwards, and because I don't want to hurt Toothless, I'm holding him up like this, and my foot goes behind my butt, and I landed straight on it, and I broke my fibula in 2 places and tore all the tendons outside.
That's fucking crazy.
Toothless is totally fine though. He didn't even shit on me.
Thing.
Dude didn't even shit on me. I was so shocked. I was just like, he was just walking away, and I looked over, and I was just like at first I was just like, oh fuck, motherfucker, and then I looked over, I was like, is Toothless okay? Toothless is fine, right? And everybody was just like, yeah, dude, what the fuck happened to your ankle?
Holy shit! Yeah, I fell down the stairs one time while carrying a dachshund, and it was the same move where I was just like lifted the dachshund. Yeah, I just lifted the dachshund up, and fell down the stairs completely. And I was like, fucking knee all busted up, ankle busted up, all bruised and battered. But I'm like, is the dog okay? But I didn't break anything. So, no, I'm glad to hear that, because it sounds like Brianna Peters earlier on in the stream actually ratted you out already. She said Bruce broke his foot slipping on. She was a lot more simplistic about it, and I'm like, all right, I'm not going to... Spoiler alert. She said Bruce broke his foot slipping on toad pee trying to film a TikTok video.
Yep, that was pretty much what it was, honestly.
That sounds much less flattering.
Honestly,
Bruce broke his foot saving the life of a helpless animal.
Yeah, that sounds nicer. So I actually, when I went to the emergency room, I did actually take a picture of the medical report, because they had actually written it down, saying that I had slipped on toad piss.
Oh my gosh!
And I was like, it's officially on my medical record that I have a broken ankle due to toad pee.
Due to toad pee.
Yeah.
Did they classify that under workman's comp, or did you have to go through insurance?
It's definitely a workman's comp for sure, because we were doing the video and everything for Reptarium.
What a mess.
Thank goodness, because I was sitting there going like, how the fuck am I going to... Because I was thinking it was like, oh, we were just goofing around, so this ain't going to count for shit. But it's all right.
Right. I'm gonna ask you this because I'm genuinely curious, but also like feel free for legal reasons to just like not answer. But I'm just genuinely curious for a legal consumption state. How does workman's comp work for THC? Like, because in outside of those states, like if I was to get injured at work, I have to get tested for drugs immediately. That's like step one.
That makes sense. I mean, yeah.
I'm just curious.
I think because it's both recreational and medical here. I think there just really isn't a test at all. Because that was just never a question I was ever asked. Like they don't never really even came up. It was just like, hey, they asked me if I smoke cigarettes. That's very much what they asked. They were more concerned about that.
Yeah, well, and that's pretty standard for any medical kind of exam or whatever. I was just curious because I live in North Carolina, and I actually injured my shoulder while I was at work, and I was like, hey, like it'll probably be fine like a couple of days, which it was, or it wasn't. It's still pretty fucked up. But they were basically like, yeah, well, so if you want to go and get that looked at, like step one is you got to get a drug test done, and then step two is we'll actually look at your shoulder to see if it hurts. And I'm like, that seems kind of fucking stupid, but considering I got hurt moving boxes that are heavy, not by like falling down.
I mean, try walking in the emergency room and telling me you slipped on toad piss. I mean, that they do give you
maybe I should lead with that next time.
They really just thought your wife beat you.
They rush you right through.
I mean, I would believe it. Jessica looks like she probably is capable of violence. I'll say that.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah,
Bruce had to look across the room for approval. Like, is it okay if I agree with this or not?
I was just there going, like, I'm like, how dangerous should I let people know? No, she's scary. Just leave her alone.
Bruce is like, I'm trained to kill people by the government, but I'm still afraid of her. You take that for what you feel like it needs to mean.
Exactly. You got that right out of the nose there, buddy.
No, that makes sense. That makes sense.
He's what nightmares are made of.
Oh, shit.
I believe it.
All right, guys. So I figured we talked about a lot of stuff. We'll roll into what Bruce's pick was for the Reptile of the Week and, get into that, and we'll kind of wrap this thing up and move going forward. Bruce.
Oh, yeah.
Reptile of the Week. Let us know.
So my Reptile of the Week is one of my kind of personal favorites, is because it's sort of a classic that everyone knows. Like, if you think like cobra, you're thinking mostly of the Naja Indian species. Yeah. That Indian locale is just absolutely just stands alone in the larger part of the species there. And like, honestly, like I'll tell you right now, Naja is one of my longtime species that I'll always keep. I will never not have one in my collection. It will always have one. But I currently keep a Sri Lankan. I actually don't have any Indians, so if you see any Indians, let me know. But that being said, man, like they're super intelligent animals. Like they're different than your typical like monocle cobras or anything like that you see like on the run of the mill stuff. Like it's just a different creature entirely, and it's one of my all-time favorite Naja species.
Now, remind me, because if I'm not correct me, I guess is what I was trying to say. Naja, Indian cobra, that's the spectacle cobra, right?
Yeah, so like spectacle is just like kind of your more general term for it, but like so like the Indian, when you say Indian, you're talking specifically about it's one of the larger locales, but it is the more iconic one. So there's less spectacling on it, but it's more of that little double eye look on the back of the hood.
The ocelli.
Like that.
Exactly. The two ocelli on the back of it.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, does that differ? Because I've seen some where they're spectacled, where they have the two eyes, and then they're connected. Are they not always connected?
That depends. Honestly, I've seen that more largely in captive breeding. That sometimes that'll be a little muddied up. Sure. It won't be quite so crystal clear as the way you normally see it. But at the same time, people sometimes breed for those patterns to come up more clearer. So it really depends on where you're getting your animal from, really.
Sure.
But like. If you ever there, I mean, I've even seen some of the monosolate, the Kuthias, your monocle cobras. Like some of them won't be just a pinnacle on the back. It'll be actually like this weird looking like little eye almost. Like it won't even be a single spot. It'll be almost 3 spots. Like so, it just depends. Where are you getting it? Who breeds it, and what are they breeding it for?
Hell yeah.
Oh, that makes sense.
Bruce, man, is there anything that you want to touch on? You want to talk to anybody about, or we can open up the questions from the people that we have in the chat. I don't want to keep you too long on here because you revealed to us that you do have surgery in the morning, and
at 7:30. Been drinking up on the water.
Guys. So even though Bruce is injured and he has surgery tomorrow morning, he still is awesome enough to come on and do this with us tonight, which I think is even more badass than the simple fact that he was here
Bruce,
to begin with, man.
Bruce, I know.
100% I'm a man of my word.
If you have nothing else, I do know that there's a question that I know a lot of people that, again, just I try to think of the fact that this video is going to be around for a long time. For people that are hopeful to get into the line of work that you are in, what's a suggestion that you have? Again, I know that's a tough question to answer, and I'm sure you've been asked that a lot, right?
All those books.
You and Jessica both, right? But what do you think if you had to name something or give that response? What do you think that you would say to somebody that's trying to kind of follow your path?
Well, right here. See all these horribly worn novels and pictures and everything to do with reptiles of any kind that I find interest in. Anything that I sometimes I just go on Amazon and I just find a book and I buy it and I read it.
And it's one you've never heard of. Yeah.
Yeah, it just whether it's like a field herpetology guide or whether it's just about some guy who studied crocodilians in the woods of India and you know what I mean? My largest thing is just understand everyone that you're around loves doing this.
Yeah.
Everybody wants to do it. You're not different you're not competing with anyone by just saying that's what I like to do.
In other words, your level of passion is never going to be the one thing that actually gets you the job. Necessarily. Sometimes it will definitely help.
It could definitely, if you were in the same rung otherwise, as far as your career goes, and you're just more passionate than everybody else, yeah, you're damn right. Most of the time, you're probably going to get picked over the others.
Yeah.
But at the same time, passion doesn't really account for much if you're not willing to listen, learn, and understand that the people that you're around have been doing this for years and years and years. And there's just there are some things that we have figured out that, it may seem simple to you, but it's not that simple here.
Yeah,
so I guess, but I mean, honestly, I feel like that's the same with any job. That's why I always say, if you're gonna be the guy, if you want to do what I do or do better than I do, or go to another place and potentially replicate what we do at the Reptarium in general, try to become the more educated person. That's why I'm showing out these books. Go and read. Be the more educated person coming into the world, and you're gonna realize really, really quickly, outside of the people who have PhDs and master's degrees, you're bringing a lot more to the table than most others are.
And
because no one's sitting there reading.
And to be clear, we've had conversations with people that do have PhDs and master's degrees that still actually put more weight in that actual life experience than in those books. And so I think it takes all aspects. And I don't mean to say that
there's a large balance to it.
Yeah, and I don't mean to say that in the sense of answering my own question, because that's by no means what I was trying to do. I guess what I was trying to get at is it's not just, I love these animals and so this job can be given to me. You are a anomaly in the sense that you were the right man in the right place in the right time, as with everything, right? That's the common, answer. But you were prepared, through, again, just that passion. You had that passion, and it was literally just coincidence is what it kind of almost sounds like. It's just almost like it was meant to be for you to end up where you're at.
100%. Honestly, if you really want to throw out a potential cause of it all, Jessica, 100%.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be here if Jessica wasn't already working there prior to me. You know what I mean? Because she's been the long-standing employee way before I ever was.
Yeah.
Honestly, it sounds kind of funny, but about maybe 4 or 5 years ago, I wasn't just working on stuff at BHB. I was pulling weeds in Lori's flower garden. You know what I mean? I was doing everything just for money. If you guys were going to pay me, I was going to do it. You know what I mean? And that's largely what kind of set me across pretty quickly, was just Bruce is already here and he's constantly just here to work, here to work, here to work.
Yeah.
So if we could rely on him to be that person, then let's put him in a position to actually be successful.
I actually wanted to get into that tonight because I knew that about you in the sense that, like, obviously Jessica was there first, and I love Jessica in the sense of, like, everything she does for BHB. Like, I would love to have a chance to talk to her at some point, and I hope that I'll get to do that at some point. And I'm sure Bradley feels the same way. I'm sure Bradley maybe has already had a chance to talk to her. But yeah, like,
she's very, very quiet. That's the
which is totally
kind of
fine.
hard to get through it.
Yeah, which is totally fine. And that's what I say. But I guess what I just mean is just, like, it just, I say it all the time. It's funny how things work out. But it's also, again, it's just, obviously, you were only there because of, you already had all of that happening already. And I think that's what amazes me more than anything, is just that it's like, what are the odds? And I guess maybe they're good. I don't know, based on Jessica as a person. But it's like, what are the odds that you, Jessica's husband, are also happen to be the perfect fit for BHB in terms of what they need out of a person in terms of, like, the reptile training and things like that. And that's not to say that, like, nobody can be replaced, and I hope that doesn't sound as terrible as it feels like.
No.
But you know what I mean. But it's just, like, it's just interesting to me the way that everything builds out, and one thing builds upon another, and things just happen to work. And not just work, but, like, work extremely fucking well. I get excited about stuff like that. I think it's great. I don't know.
Yeah. So I've known Jessica for the better part of a decade. You know,
Yeah.
like we've always been very passionate and loving towards reptiles and stuff like that. But the one thing that actually was weird about that sort of development with BHB and the Reptarium was just that, like, Jessica was the one that was interested in monitors, not me. Like, I was always interested. I was always interested in venomous snakes, tarantulas, stuff like that. That was my bread and butter. That was all what I wanted. That's all I cared about working with and having, you know.
Yeah.
And then Jessica was just like, one day she was just like, let's get a peach throw monitor and shit like that. You know, like, we ended up not getting one, but, like, it was just eventually just like, all right, well, you know, like, that seems like a sweet one, but I don't think we have time for it or have the room for it. Eventually, obviously, we end up buying the Asian water, and that's a nerd Asian water that we got. And like I said, that I like him. He's a sweetheart. And he's a sweet little thing. He just takes a shit on me all the time every now and then. So, but yeah, like, that was one of the things that we never really thought to really develop over time, was just, like, I was supposed to be a part-time guy. Yeah. Like, I wasn't supposed to be important at all. I was there to change out waters, like, do the vegetable feedings trays and stuff like that. The simple, easy once in every other day kind of shit. And then over time it just kind of evolved. Like, I became a larger personality on the YouTube videos and stuff like that. So, like, once I started becoming a larger personality, I started to show that there wasn't just the spiders that I was good with. I was also good with, like, monitors and stuff like that. So when Brian was trying to implement the ball training to Elvis and stuff like that, I was a key proportion of that.
You're like, hey, I know how to do that because I've done it with dogs, or, like, you had that knowledge to equate. Target
training is they're basically the same thing. It's just all that Pavlov's dog kind of shit, you know.
The logic is all the same, and that's what I love. It's all just logic. It's literally it should be just that simple. It's just black and white. It should just be just that simple.
So, like, Forrest actually, I think, was a big component as to why I became not just a guy that helped, to becoming a guy that actually did the work. You know, mainly because of the Nile monitor that we have, Ubusuku. I've known Ubusuku since the day since the day Jessica first started working at BHB. Like, originally there was a trio of these Black Knight Nile monitors that we had, and they're all menaces, just so, like, frothing at the teeth. Like, we just thought these things had rabies, you know what I mean? These things were fucking mean. And then they ended up getting sent off, and some unfortunate problems happened there. I guess a couple of them died, so the female gets sent back, and Forrest gets him first.
Right.
And he had gotten first-hand experience with that female Ubisuku, and realized how just a big bitch she was. Like, she would just come charging at him and all the other stuff. And when we get them, and she's the same way, charging, crazy. She would flip that tail. I even got a nice little scar from her on my leg from that tail that she's got. And then I wasn't actually trying to tame her down. I was just trying to figure out a way that I could clean things without causing injury to myself or her.
Well, and that goes back to what I was talking about earlier with just the consistency of approach.
Yeah.
And the way that you do things. That's interesting to me. That ended up kind of working.
So basically, I took what we were doing with the Asian water monitor, Elvis, and applied the same thing with Ubisuku. And then I also used a snake hook as like this sort of like way to tell her, hey, get out of the water, I'm going to clean it. You know, so she would always sit in the water bowl because it's just big enough for her to like sit and soak completely in with her head peeking out. And she would sit in it all the damn time. So I would take the snake hook and rub her back really, really good, and she'd walk right out every time. Every single damn time. She still does it today. If I pull that same snake hook out, rub her back, she walks right out every time. So like, but yeah, it was this consistent effort, like you're saying, like this constant, just doing it the same way every time, to where she started figuring out, like, I'm not here to piss you off, lady. I'm here to just tell you to get the hell out so I can clean your water and you can get a clean water here. And she realized very quickly that this was a positive thing. Process, there was nothing really to be afraid of. Yeah. So she respected that process. Yeah. And then so Forrest ended up seeing that work happen. I'm at a point now where I could pull her out like a big baby, and I hold her and I cuddle her all the time.
Yeah, because
I've actually held her.
I was gonna say, I'll tell you, man. Like I've seen a few times. I still literally like. Excuse me. I remember the first time I was watching a video on his channel, and somebody holding her for the first time. And it was like, and I, if I remember correctly, and maybe it was because I missed the first time that was holding, and there was no, and maybe there was a dramatic build up to it then. But I swear, if I remember right, like the first time that she was held on Brian's channel, it was just like she had been doing it all along. Like there was no build up to it of like, oh, this animal's been nuts, which makes sense because I could see Brian just like going for it and not making a big deal of it, and therefore highlighting the negative, behavior before of just being like Abasuku and she's great. I could see that, but I swear I remember the first time seeing a physical interaction with her and me just being like literally having chills, because I've been watching Brian for long enough to where I get those reactions sometimes when something exciting happens with some of the animals. The croc monitors, like any step forward with them or with her is huge, and things like that. But I still remember that and just being super fucking excited. Same thing with Chicken Strip. Like Chicken Strip is seems to be doing a lot better. Not being highlighted all the time, which tells me obviously there's still work being done. I'm usually pretty good at like reading between the lines in the sense of like, I'll see him kind of highlight Chicken Strip in an episode when he's doing something really good, and then a lot of times you don't hear from him otherwise, which tells me like he's just a work in progress, which is totally normal. But it's exciting to me that like he's getting bigger and you're starting to kind of see him more, and he's gaining some confidence, as best I can tell.
I actually I have a large amount of faith that Chicken Strip's going to actually come around to a point where he'll be like Ubisuku. But I do believe that the albinism and the lack of ability to see well may have some play there.
Sure.
And because of that is why I think it's going to take a long time, and I think it's going to take him to gain some size for it to for him to really get to a point where it's just like, all right, he's not that bad, That's exactly
what I was gonna say, and that's what I felt honestly with Ubisuku. It was just like, it was literally just a matter of like size and age, of just understanding that like it's been this long and I'm not dead. Like they haven't killed me to eat me,
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe everything's cool, and again, that's not to like attribute our like thought process of time onto an animal, but there's something to be said about time. Every living being at some level understands time.
Right.
So again, like, that's one of those animals I've seen at the facility for so long, and it goes a long time without being highlighted. And again, I understand why, because I'm like, well, that animal's a dickhead and has been a dickhead forever. So when it is highlighted, I'm like, oh, great, like there's progress. It's exciting, and so that's awesome, man.
In a way, I know I'm moving a lot quicker in progress with the croc monitor than I am chicken strip, but in a way, it sort of feels like the same sort of like way I started with chicken strip, like I did with the croc monitor. Like there was already kind of a lot just not done prior to my involvement,
which is
so like
good and bad, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I remember when
brain development is good.
Right.
The zero
right.
experience is bad, but sorry.
Right. So I remember chicken strip when we first got him. Like he sat, like, literally, he was like as big as my hand. Like we just had him in like I took pictures of him and he was pink. You know what I mean? He was really young. And like so like there was even a period where we were like, is he gonna make it? Like is he too young?
I remember that.
And then, he made it through. There was just such a huge amount of I'm sorry, my little batteries here are dying here. Basically, like, I don't know, lack of a better way of putting it, it seems like they start off kind of like getting stressed out because like there's either nothing being done or everything wrong is being done. Yeah. And then then they come to me and it's kind of like I don't know if you guys seen My Cat from Hell or something like that.
Yeah.
But I always kind of feel like people think I have that kind of solution, like this dude does with his TV show, and I'm just like, no, it's not quite like that. I just kind of like, I'm literally a lot of the time kind of just sitting there watching them, seeing how they're interacting with me before I even take a step forward. You know, like I'm on the other side of the cage. I keep the door open. I do whatever I can to sort of get that curiosity going and just see what they do. You know what I mean? Like, and that's the biggest thing. Because the moment you don't see anything curious, like if they're not looking curious at anything, you already know you're not getting anywhere. You just take a step back, close the door, walk away for a little bit, maybe, throw some food out there. I don't know, like try to throw that curiosity going, and then it's amazing how quick you can get there if you at least get that mind just rolling. Just get him thinking, get him processing, get him understanding like what's going on here. Get him at least asking those questions that monitors should be asking. You know what I mean? Not just like fuck off. You know what I mean? You don't want that. You don't want them at all to look at you like that.
Yeah, no, because there's zero input to be received at that point. They're shut out. They're done. They're cooked. There's no point. You're wasting your time.
Yeah, it's like trying to get laid with a It's like trying to get laid with a stripper, like he ain't getting anywhere, man.
They're there to work. They're there for one reason, not the other.
They're here for your money.
I'm gonna remember that going forward.
We got 2 questions from the chat that I want to touch on, and then we'll wrap this up and get you to bed so you can get to surgery. Number 1. Mindy Boyer from Timeless Morphs asks, Bruce, what's your favorite reptile at BHB?
Well, I assume you're actually meaning the Reptarium.
I was just going to say, I assume she also lumps in both, yeah.
So, like, I hate to do this to you, but I really actually have no true favorite. I really don't. And the only reason I say that is because, like, I've been there. I've been here long enough, and I've been around these animals long enough where I have a fun story with every animal. Like even the Centralia and blue tongue skink potato. Like I have funny stories I tell people all the time about that animal and how he got out one time and all this other stuff. You know what I mean? Like my whole point being is I can pull a normal baby alligator out of a tank and tell you all the reasons why this animal is my favorite. You know what I mean? Like it doesn't really matter. They're all my favorite. They there's just like some days one's more my favorite than the other one. Some days I get bit and I'm just like, you know what? You're not my favorite anymore, and I move on. They're
just animals that at the end of the day, it's still work. And I don't mean to say that you're just saying like, oh, it's just work. I don't care about these animals, but I personally, I have like 25 animals in this room. I couldn't tell you which one is necessarily my favorite, and that's me. So I can't imagine. Yeah, I get it. We're on the same.
I mean, even with my own owned animals, I really have no favorites either. Like
right,
I have
love
some like
all of them. They all have their own moments.
I always ask people, I'm like, well, what's your poison? You know?
All right.
But,
and the other question was from Dylan from D's Balls and Exotics, and it's kind of the same thing. What do you enjoy most about your job?
So I didn't actually get into this job thinking that there would be anything of it, you know. Like I didn't actually like I didn't try to seek out Brian thinking I would be successful. I was looking for a job. I was looking for a job like anybody else would be, you know.
Right.
And the plus was that it was animals I truly enjoyed and loved.
Mhm.
I think Bruce's headphones died on.
Well, if we should be able to unmute him unless he just has no mic. Let's see.
It says, "Can unmute your guest. Your mic isn't."
Yeah, mic isn't connected. He has no mic. If
Well, hell.
Connect from a phone. It's all good. Well,
Yeah. So,
we'll call it
guys,
from there.
I definitely think that we can have Bruce on again at some point. Bruce is an awesome guy, and I definitely appreciate everything that he's.
All right,
we might have him back.
There he is. He's back.
we
We're
have him
good.
back.
I did it. Yay, I did it. All right. I'm honestly the worst with like computers. So
All good,
please,
man.
Please forgive
and
me.
you still sound good, so no worries.
My mom says that too. Thanks.
Yeah, we were gonna sign off. So.
All right. Yeah.
if you
I
wanna-
figured,
you wanna
guys.
give your-
Thank you. Number one, thank you guys so much for having me. I really, really appreciate it. Like regardless, man. Like I always love talking to other reptile people in the world. And Zach, you're a new guy I met, but like it's nice meeting you and everything like that.
No,
You're
no,
definitely
no,
a passionate dude, and I could tell that for a fact. But thank
Trust
you guys
me.
so much for bringing me on, man. I really,
No,
it's
man, thank
it's an
you.
honor, really.
No, Bruce, man, that's what I was just saying. I don't know if you could hear, but I appreciate Zach and I both appreciate you coming on. It always feels at the end of these things that we didn't get to cover everything we want. So I definitely hope you'd be willing to do a round 2 with us at some point.
Always, dude. You guys always just let me know and I'll come around.
And yeah, man, there's it's really good to have people that are like-minded and have these conversations, and it's just fun, man. Like this one's been really fun, just talking about like the obscure horror movies and getting geeked out about the music and the animals. This is what it's all about, dude. And like I really appreciate you being here. And yeah, that there's, like I said earlier, appreciate number one, your service to the country, and then you being cool enough to come here. And Zach, if there's anything you wanna say.
Yeah, man. I mean, Bradley, you and we've talked about it a lot, man. That and again, I hope that Bruce, I know that you will. I hope that people understand that obviously, like, Brian Barczyk is like what got me back into reptiles, right? I've been into reptiles since I was a kid. Bruce, I love that you and I share the whole my first word being dog and your first word being puppy. That made me laugh a lot. But it was this one was a big deal for me, just in the sense of like, again, like at the end of the day, we're all just people. Bruce, you're just a person, and I've enjoyed talking to you so much. But I think the biggest thing that I get away from not just this, but all of these that we do with so many people that I have so much respect for is just I get so much enjoyment from talking to people that are literally making their livings doing the things that they love. Today I had a rough day, and most of you guys know that I didn't have the best day. And my goal is that my goal is that I can eventually reach that point where every day I get to wake up and do what I love every day. And Bruce, I know that obviously there's days I'm sure that you wake up and you got to go to fucking work. every day, eventually at some point, everything, no matter what it is work. But man, I can tell from talking to you and from the energy that we've had through this whole call, it's been so much fun, man. And I can tell that you've got a lot of fucking passion for the stuff that you do every day. And I just hope that you continue to love what you do every day, man. That makes me happy. It makes me happy to interact with people that do what they love every day. And I can't tell you how much that means to me. And yeah, I just yeah, I don't know. I got nothing after that. That's really it. I appreciate you for your time, man. Seriously, and I hope your surgery tomorrow goes well. And like I said, I'll be in touch for sure. We'll
yeah, for sure, man. You guys
second round, and
both you guys should come on up, and I'll give you guys a small tour of the snake room and stuff like that.
Yeah, man, it's on my list. Trust me. It literally, I've been telling a ton of people this next year. My whole plan is to travel to a bunch of places. I told Bradley when he got to come up to the Reptarium, I was like he was giving me the whole play-by-play before he went, and then after and everything. So yeah, I
oh yeah, dude, you come up here. We'll go hang out at a bar. We'll next morning hang out, see some snakes.
Yeah,
do whatever, man.
No, but like I said, thank you for your time tonight, Bruce. Seriously, and like I said, there's a ton that we want to still touch on. So we'll definitely have a round two. But like I said, more importantly than anything, get well. Have a good surgery tomorrow. Tell Jessica we said hello, and everybody have a great night. And as we all are already aware, I'm going to steal it this time, Bradley. I love all you guys, and we are all connected by creatures.
Later, guys.
Love you guys. See y'all next